What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 4th episode of the Otaku Garage Rb26 s15 build. What are we doing today, Sam?
Big words, please.
That was a big word.
Well, what we're doing today is we're gonna do the ABS bracket. We're gonna fit the fuel pump and the hangers. We're gonna do things like take off the intake manifold, fit injectors, and just tidy up a lot of loose ends and get a lot of the fab started, so that way when it goes off the wiring, Sam White at Whitey's Wiring knows exactly where all the heat's going to be and where all the parts are going to be, and he can route everything accordingly and keep it all tucked and hidden for us. So come along for the journey and have some fun as we actually do some work this time. So what we're about to start looking at doing now is setting up and at least doing the temp setup of the fuel pump. So Frenchies has hooked us up. We have the twin pump hanger for the S14, S15s. So I've got Jack sitting at the back waiting for me to give him all these parts and stop talking to you guys. But we're going with twin 460s, and we're going to do a rear fuel pressure reg setup as well, so we can keep those lines really short, keep it really simple, and keep the engine bay as empty as we possibly can for the goals of having a shaved engine bay but a million parts in it's kind of pointless. So reasons why we're going with the Frenchies hat though is, one, it's all billet, and two, it is already comes with the larger wires so that we can run efficient power to the pumps without mounting the top hats. From factory, they're plastic, and you can drill them and put studs in there and make that work, but 9 times out of 10 we find that if those studs come a little bit loose, you melt the hat, and that's a fire right next to the fuel tank waiting to happen. And it's not a risk that we're willing to take. Spend a little bit extra money for that safety and reassurance of reliable parts. Alrighty, as I mentioned earlier about the plastic fuel hats melting, actually cleaning up the bench to grind over there with the ABS, I found a hat that we recently replaced for a customer. So that's one of the studs. That one was for the earth, this one was for the power. One of these two lock nuts came loose and just gave a bit of wriggle in the post, which meant contact and no contact. It gets hot, and it's melted to the point that we couldn't put another post in there, because these actually have an O-ring underneath each of those little spaces to seal it so fuel doesn't leak out. Yeah, so obviously that is best case scenario with this setup. We've had another one on an R34 running around 600 horsepower, and this melted and actually started to sag down and was ready to start dripping plastic into the fuel. So definitely don't want to muck around, spend the extra coin and just get the billet hats. Frenchies are by far the best we've used and highly recommend them.
We will be fitting rubber insulation between these two layers of metal here to avoid vibration noise, which you'll get with 2 pumps obviously running together, and probably some insulation between these 2 metal flanges here. But for now, we're just going to bolt it up together, get it tight, so we can get an idea of where everything's going to sit, and yeah, hopefully set up a nice spot for it.
Just having a look here into the into the fuel tank, mapping out where this bracket is going to sit. I've got to remove the original fuel pump and the brackets in there so I can test fit this assembly. Then we'll run the lines out and the wiring, get started on the wiring and hopefully set it in place shortly.
So we don't have to worry about the plugs just yet, as we're only test fitting it to make sure everything lines up and sits where it's supposed to sit. So for now, as you can see, the connectors are sitting there with nothing in them. And I've got to slot this into the bracket up there. The Frenchie's twin pump setup is now in the tank. It's fitted permanently for now, but we can remove it so we can tweak it a bit if we're not happy. The feed lines to the hat are all fitted, the wiring's all fitted to the pump. So all we need to do here is fit this dual relay kit for the pumps, figure out where we want it. At this point, we're sort of fiddling around with the idea of sort of mounting it on the actual cover plate, but we'll get to that when we've sort of weeded out where the wiring's going to go and the vacuum line for the fuel pressure regulator and everything else is going to be done. So far we're happy with this, and yeah, within the next video you'll see hopefully this all mounted up and hopefully this all tidied up and ready to go. So anyway, see how we go.
There's no foothold.
Do you want love and to be fed? Well, help me plug our merchandise, boy. Come here. That was your cue. Thanks. That's it. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. How could you deny that happy, goofy face? Hey, now that I've got your attention, you jump on www.otakugarage.com and /merchandise. You too could own one of these t-shirts.
Like that.
So I was chopping up the original bracket to see if we could, you know, hack it, tack weld it back together to make it work. It didn't. So we're going to open up the CAD file and do some cardboard assisted design.
How does it work?
How does it work? You take some cardboard, you cut out your design, transfer it onto the sheet metal, cut the sheet metal out, and voila, you've used CAD. I was about to say you don't even need to finish high school to do CAD. Start off by cutting away all the excess that we're probably not going to use immediately or right now. That will sit there and be mounting it, and then we've got to bend it down into shape down there. But we're too wide still. Alrighty, so we made that other design and you pointlessly have watched us make that because off camera, we've gone and made a whole new design. We realized after lots and lots of finessing that we're too far over and too far up, and no matter where we adjusted it to sit, the brake lines were going to be in the wrong position. So we've gone further across, further down, and made new brackets to suit. So I'm going to tack all these up and hopefully it's all in the right place for us.
because I'm not a mechanic, I'm not going to be doing any of the bolting stuff on, but I can certainly do a lot of the taking stuff off, which I'm usually pretty good at. So Rb26 manifold is going to be coming off in this episode because I'm going to be doing, or well, Sam's going to be doing all of the water lines underneath, and I'm going to play around with the manifold today and install some injectors. So that way, when it goes to wiring, Sam can do all the wiring for the injectors, knows where all the plugs are, and he can tuck them all nice and down and underneath. So it'll look really nice. So on this build right here, we're going to be using some Expert 1500cc injectors. These things are packaged so beautifully, and I don't really feel like I want to be taking these things out the box because they look too pretty. But yes, these are going to be going in the Rb26 s15 build. And these should hold to the power quite nicely, and pretty keen to see how they go. So yeah, let's chuck them in.
All right, so that brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for coming along, thanks for watching. In the next episode, you'll catch us finishing off the intercooler piping. You're getting a sneak peek looking at here. And we'll start all doing the oil cooler lines. We'll start doing the turbo lines as well. So thanks again for coming along. If you can leave us a comment, like, share, and subscribe, we'd really appreciate that. We'd love to hear your feedback. I do read the comments and reply to as many as I can. So thank you again, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Alright, today we're going to start the video, we're going to chuck the engine in. And then the next shot is the whole car completely done. It's like, wow, I did so much work today, guys.
We'll just go back to Dragon Ball Z and we'll just do 3 episodes of me powering up to put it in. We'll just be us jacking and being like, ah! Ah! Come here. Come here. The skid to stop. Hey, my boy. Oh, you were so excited. What is it? What is it?
Is it time for the end of the video?
You hungry? Oh, that got your head looking back at me. Hey? Stay tuned for next episode.